Communist revolution.
I've been very alarmed about what's going on in our school. You are now training our children to be social justice warriors and to loathe our country and our history. Growing up in Mao's China, all this seemed very familiar. The communist regime used the same critical theory to divide people. The only difference is they use class instead of race. During the Cultural Revolution, I witnessed students and teachers turn against each other. We changed school names to be politically correct. We were taught to denounce our heritage. The Red Guards destroy anything that is not communist, old statues, books, and anything else. We are also encouraged to report on each other, just like the Student Equity Ambassador Program and the bias reporting system. This is indeed the American version of the Chinese Cultural Revolution. The critical race theory has its roots in cultural Marxism.
What's going on, everyone? Starkskin here today, and we're going to be reacting to or give an analysis about communism. Yeah, communism, my favorite subject. So Jordan Peterson brought this to my attention. Any outrage from the woke legacy media about the communists openly calling for revolution, or they're okay despite the tens of millions dead. And this is the idea that has been sprouting around in my generation. Socialism is just as much as popular as capitalism. And the funny part I find about like a lot of socialists and communists is that they love to complain about the ills of capitalism as if their system is any better, right? Socialists and communists always like to come in after capitalism has done all the heavy lifting of, bringing a lot of people up to poverty, out of poverty, creating innovative things that we love and we cherish and love, like phones, laptops. Once capitalism finished setting up the table, then communism will come in and say, no, we take it from here now. No, y'all going to come in and mess it up because your system wasn't the one that originally created all this prosperity. Right? You can complain about the fact that, oh, Kenny, look at all the poverty that's in the United States. But if you compare the poverty in the United States to China, it's better. Would you rather be poor in China or poor here? Because poverty has tiers. Poverty will probably never go away because poverty is relative, right? That is my thoughts. But who's going to create the wealth that's needed to subsidize all the poverty in these countries? Capitalism. Capitalism is the only system known to man that is able to generate so much wealth. And the funny part is a lot of people, and this is just my thoughts, I believe a lot of people who describe themselves as communists and Marxists or socialists, I believe they only read Marxism. They don't understand Marxism, communism, socialism. Right? They don't compare it to any historical examples. Hey, every self-proclaimed socialist, because the common argument a lot of these people like to put in my comment section is that's not real socialism, is because they fell for the fantasy of socialism. They fell for the fantasy of communism, but they don't understand the feasibility of communism. The only way you can feasibly attempt communism is you have to leverage state power. That makes you automatically a dictator. And Marxism himself admits that this is what you need to happen to usher in communism. And these people are calling for a revolution. They're calling for an idea that if you look at its historical record, and someone in the comment section was so graciously able to point this out, never forget the victims of communism, right? Because, communists always complaining about, oh, look at all the ills of capitalism. And capitalism is not a perfect system, but communism is a far worse system than capitalism. Because the abstract vision of capitalism is the exact same promise. Freedom to sell, freedom to buy, freedom to try, freedom to fail. And if you fail, hey, you may end up poor. Hey, you may end up homeless. But your fate is decided by your own hands. That's the capitalist promise. And if you look at the actual implementation of capitalism, that's what it provides. Fair. Communism claims this utopia. Everyone's be able to eat. Everyone's able to have money. Everyone's able to do whatever they want. The results of the implementation. Never forget the victims of communism. Mao, 40 to 70 million victims. Stalin, 20 to 70 million victims. Pol Pot, 1 to 3 million victims. Kim Sung, up to 2 million victims. Fidel Castro, 300,000 victims. Communism is evil, right? And I like to equate socialists and communists as looters, because they feel entitled to things that they themselves didn't produce, create, or earn. Is it charity if someone puts a gun to my head and force me to give you my money? No, it's not right. This is a Milton Friedman argument that if you have to get your ends, you have to use force, then it's immoral automatically. And communism has a warped sense of morality. It's rooted in entitlement, right? This is the kind of thinking that communists have. And then we'll get into more of the morality of communism. Let's take a look.
If there's 10 billion people on Earth and Elon Musk has $200 billion, can't he just give each person $1 billion? And here's the twist. He will still have $190 billion left over. Isn't that concerning?
I don't know about you guys, but the math ain't mathing to me, right? She said there's 10 billion people and Elon Musk needs to give 1 billion. If Elon Musk give every person $1 billion, he'll still have 190. You see the kind of, I guess, cognitive ability a lot of these people who preach, redistribution of wealth, which is a common idea for communists, socialists, because only 10 people will be billionaires. That's the reality. There's not enough money to give all the people of the world money. It's impossible, right? And at the end of the day, they didn't create it. They didn't work to create it, right? Like, have you ever given somebody something that they didn't earn, right? For instance, it's like giving millions of dollars to, like, the lottery is the perfect example of this. The lottery is the perfect kind of implementation and example of what happens when we do redistribution of wealth. That's what reparations is, essentially, redistribution of wealth. You're going to give money that the person did not generate, put it in the hands of a person who didn't know how to even generate it in the first place, and you expect them to have a good outcome with that money. How fast it takes them before they end up being poor? 5 years, 10 years, depending on the individual and their spending habits, because they didn't build the work to do that. They didn't have the habits or the skills to manage the money properly because they didn't know what it took to have it in the first place. It's like giving somebody a game that's in the last level of the final boss and expecting them to be successful fighting the last boss because they didn't learn all the lessons and all the required skills from the journey of meeting up to the final boss to be prepared to face the final boss. And this is what redistribution of wealth essentially does to people. But you think these communists understand that? No, because all they really care about is they're looters, right? Every socialist is a looter. Every communist is a looter. They like to call us capitalists greedy pigs. Well, you guys are looters, freeloaders, lazy, naive, entitled. How you feel entitled to the work of and the fruits of someone else's labor? Make it make sense. If the person gives it to you of his own free will, of his own volition, that's one thing. That's charity. But to go into government, use the government as a thug or a middleman to extort someone of their money. This is why tax the rich is so popular with young folks, because they see an advantage of it. Oh, I'm not poor, I'm not rich, so therefore I want to extract resources from them. How's that not abuse? How's that representative? You didn't create the wealth, you didn't generate the wealth, but you want to have a say over the wealth. Make it make sense. Only the top 20% of taxpayers are paying almost 90% of the tax revenue. They're responsible for 90% of the tax revenue. Yet, because of a simple majority, you want to dictate how that money is being used. That don't sound like a fair sentence to me. This is why democracy don't work. This is why democracy fails. The Naked Communist is a book I like to reference, and I want to just focus on the communist theory of morals. Communist writers likewise maintain that the Judeo-Christian code of ethics is a class morality. By this, they mean that the Ten Commandments and the ethics of Christianity was created to protect private property and the property class. To show the lengths to which communist writers have gone to defend this view, we will mention several of their favorite interpretations of the Ten Commandments. They believe that honor thy father and thy mother was created by the early Hebrews to emphasize to their children the fact that they were the private properties of their parents. That's a lie. I don't see my child as property. I see them as, hey, this is my child, right? It's like communists don't understand the concept of love. Everything is like Machiavellian to them. It's like a means to an end for them. And they project that interpretation to other people when that's not the case. Imagine that. They believe that, the fact that they were private property to their parents, thou shalt not kill, was attributed to the belief of dominant class and that their bodies were private property and therefore they should be protected along with other property rights. Communists don't believe in property rights. That's one thing you need to put in your head. So this idea that even women, this is one of the laughable things about communism. And when I see women kind of lift this stuff up, I'm like, you realize without property rights is just an extension of human rights, natural rights, because the first property you ever have in this world is your body. So if you're saying there's no property rights, communism is essentially saying you're community property, aka, hey, I ain't gonna say it, you're the town bicycle. And if you think I'm lying, hey, there's numerous instances of communal societies where Everyone share their wives. There's no boundaries. This is the kind of society that communists want. And it goes counter to human nature. This is the reality. No human is going to sit here, work their butt off just so that you can go screw his wife. Hell no. No man's going to work hard for that. And this is all going according to plan, because on the next part of this book, there's the 2 generations rule. There's this in the book. It talks about the 45 goals of communism. When the 45 goals of communism was published and made known, they were received in some quarters with skepticism, in others with abhorrence. For the most part, Americans believed that such blatantly declared assaults on the American way would be virtually impossible to achieve. 2024, we're living it. This book, The Naked Communist, was created around the 1960s when Reagan was running. And Reagan got this book and he said, every American should read it. It's quoted on the front. You will be alarmed, you will be informed, and you will be glad you heard of W. Clone Sulkinson. This is the author of this book, the 4th president of the United States of America, Ronald Reagan. So this book came out during Reagan's time. And everyone in there said, oh, no, wait, no American will believe this. And here we are, 2024, 5 decades later. For the most part, Americans believe that such blatant assault on the American way would virtually be impossible to achieve. People believe that Americans will never accept any of these goals in the great and impervious sanctuary of virtue and liberty known as the United States. And yet, within 2 generations, Americans' envied system of self-perpetuating liberty, virtue, education, and understanding was dangerously undermined and forgotten. Instead, there was talks of a so-called enlightenment, a new age with deceptive chanter that renamed wrong as right, good as bad, dark as light. The end result was successful in that it was one of the goals was reached within 5 decades. Right. And I kind of bookmark things. I know this video might be a little long, but I hope you guys are getting a lot of value over this. And I believe goal number 17, which is outlined in the book, is the main thing, the main reason why we get this outcome. The main reason why a lot of young people, especially in liberal hotbeds such as California and New York, believe that capitalism is evil is because our education system has taught them so. One of the goals of communism was to get control of the schools, use them as transmission belts for socialism and current communist propaganda. Soften the curriculum. You see it with progressive education. You see it with CRT. You see it with anti-racism. You see it with identity politics, revisionist history that the left like to push. This is communist propaganda. This is the playbook that communists use to take over societies, because there's 2 ways you can take over a society, either through force or through culture. And they decide to go the cultural route. Get control of the teachers' associations and put the party line in textbooks. Democrats control the education system. Overwhelmingly, the Department of Education is overwhelmingly Democrat. Right? And they're using socialist tactics to do this. Use student riots to foment public protests against programs or organizations which are not under communist control. You see what happened with the whole Palestine thing. The whole Palestine thing is literally play by play what communists will do to start revolutions in institutions and then start initiating takeovers, ideological takeovers. We're seeing it right now in our hands. One of the goals of communists is gain control of key positions in radio, TV, pictures. You see it in Hollywood. They're pushing this crap to our kids, so that way they adopt these values, and then they end up more susceptible to communism. And this is I don't know how I feel about this, but I know one thing: I'm gonna fight back against this to my dying breath, bro. Like this is the kind of stuff that I don't think we need to repeat. The reason why history repeats itself is because human beings, the younger generation, don't respect tradition. I think this is one of the main reasons why history always repeats itself. Because the young people of the current don't respect the traditions and of the past, and the tradition and the wisdom of the past. The past said, hey, we shouldn't do this. Why shouldn't we do this? That's outdated information. Do the thing anyway. And we end up in the same circle we started at. So here's the video that I want. This guy walks up to this communist desk. I'm pretty sure you guys may or may not have seen it, but I'm going to show it to you right now. This guy seems like he's from Cuba. And see how he dismantles the communists right in her face in 3 minutes flat, in under 3 minutes flat. Let's take a look.
I'm just asking, what is this?
This is a banner and this is a table.
Yeah, but why is that? Why is it?
That says, are you a communist?
Yeah.
Then get organized. That's what it says.
Yeah.
And also under there, it says socialist appeal.
Yeah. So you socialist?
Communist and socialist, yeah?
You communist and socialist?
Yes.
Oh, nice. Where are you from?
I'm from China.
China. You?
Portugal.
Portugal. So if you're from China, why you live here? It's just a good question, no?
Because China sucks, for me at least.
China sucks.
Yes.
So why are you promoting that?
Because China isn't communist.
So this is the problem that even in like the books in The Naked Communist, I have another book called The Naked Socialist, and they talk about how a lot of students, the reason why they deny every attempt at socialism as not real socialism is that there's this idealistic dream that a lot of them get kind of brainwashed into it. But they don't understand that's the desire, like they don't understand the desirability of something versus the feasibility of something or the result of something. If you have a theory in reality and you try your theory in your theory in reality and your reality shows you your theory is wrong, you must accept that your theory is wrong. You must accept that communism cannot provide the dream that it sells people. It's a band of goods. It's steak oil salesman type stuff. If it's too good to be true, it's usually not true. And this is what communism is. But only young, naive students can believe this because they're not fully aware of the history. They're not fully aware of there were students like them that attempted to do the system. And this is how they got China of today. This is how they got North Korea. This is how they got Russia. This is how they got Stalin. This is how they got Hitler. Because they don't understand that, these false promises, people trying to do something. If you cannot provide your own way in life, someone's going to be control over you. And if they have the rule over you, that's dictatorship. That's tyranny. And that's what communists and socialists invite, especially socialists. Socialists pretend, we're not like communists. We're not radicals. We're not revolutionaries. We're not trying to force people to comply to our way of life. But that's essentially what you're doing with the government. The government doesn't ask you for taxes. It forces you to pay taxes. That's the fundamental relationship between the government and its people. And it's always a little offsetting. There's always a little give and pull here. Because if the government pushes too hard, the people revolt. But, I digress. Let's continue with the video.
China is not communist.
No.
I think China is.
Well, that's what they say.
No, it's not what they say. It's the reality. China is a
The
communist.
reality.
No, you have permission to promote communism.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah. Okay,
This is a
fine.
public space.
This is a public space. I can film.
I mean, you can't film people without their consent.
I can. I'm on the public space. I can film anyone.
That's fine. Should we go to the conference hall?
Yeah. How come you promote?
Objectively
I'm just having a debate. I don't know. Communist people. This is what communist people do. They run away. They run away when someone have a debate with them. I'm just talking to you. I'm not doing anything bad.
No, I know, but we have.
I can't have a debate. I'm from a communist country. I know what communist is. None of you live in a communist regime. She lived in a communist regime and she fled. She left. Why you don't live there?
Got her.
You
Got her.
promoting this rubbish. You promoting this
Rubbish.
for what?
Rubbish.
You know how many
Exactly. That's what it is. And the funny part is a lot of these people who push for communism, they have every opportunity to go and see it firsthand, experience it firsthand of the attempted implementation of communism, but they never want to do it. They rather sit here in capitalist societies and push their nonsense, push their rubbish. And they're going to be in the comment section saying, that's not true, Kenny. You're mischaracterizing. You don't understand communism. I think I understand communism a lot. I understand that every person, every self-proclaimed communist can never bring in the dream, the utopia. None of you have the ability. No socialists have the ability to actually usher in actual socialism. That's the reality that I've come to understand about communists and socialists. That is not within their power to do so. And I don't understand why they keep pushing to attempt to put a system that they can't properly maintain and manage and actually implement and actually execute upon. But they still want us to go down that route. Why? Because they want to be in control. That's what communism and socialism is all about. They want to be in control. That's it. They want to be the kings. They want to be the aristocrats. They want to be the small group of people, control of all society, loot the country, enrich themselves at the expense of everyone else. And those who don't comply, they'll either use force, and usually that is used with violence, killings. This is why communism has so much deaths. This is why socialism has so much deaths. Because at a certain point, people are gonna get tired of getting taken advantage of with less reward, less benefit. This is why capitalism works so well. This is why capitalism produces so much wealth, to the point where socialists feel like they can, okay, we can take over now. There's all these tax money. Look at all these millionaires, billionaires that we can pay for Russia. We can pay for all this stuff. But your system didn't create it in the first place. If you look at the tax rate in America, when America had a 90% tax rate, FDR didn't get much money. He didn't get much tax revenue. But the minute it cut the taxes down, I believe it was with Calvin Coolidge. Oh, all the money was coming in. If I remember correctly, I might be misremembering the order. But a lot of money came in. When they cut the taxes, there was more benefit for the companies to spend their money, because they will get more of a return spending it and paying taxes than holding it in U.S. treasuries, because that was the only place that they couldn't tax the rich, and it stifled the economy. It halted the economy. This is why the economy. That's why FDR had such a great lift of time with the Great Depression, because he was doing things that was counterproductive to actually getting people out of the recession, because he thought he could steer the economy like a ship. And this is the problem with communists and socialists. They think they know best when they're the least knowledgeable people in these positions of power. They don't understand how anything works. They don't understand how all these intricate millions of decisions that come in unison to create the outcomes that we have here. They don't want to acknowledge that spontaneous order is the reason why capitalism works. That things that we couldn't even perceive end up being created out of thin air. No one could have perceived that one day we'll have drones possibly dropping shipment to our front doors. No one thought that was feasible. How was it? Because someone saw a problem. They decided to make a decision because they have an incentive to fix it. And all these little micro decisions end up bubbling up to create, oh, I created a drone. Hey, we could use that drone to do this. Hey, I want to buy your product. And the chain reaction creates the results that we see today. Just like language. This is my biggest argument against central planners. Who created language? No one. It just happened. Hey, we use these words. This is what the word means in this community. And as we ventured out, eventually it became its own thing. Spontaneous order. But socialists want to close their eyes and pretend that, oh no, everything that happened must have been happening under the command of somebody. No. And this is the advantage that capitalism will always have over socialism and communism, over centralized planners. Because centralized planners only know what they know. They're not very innovative thinkers. This is why they say if we lived in a communist or a socialist country, we'll still be in igloos and tents. Because I believe once a country becomes socialist, they stop growing, they stop innovating. Innovation is a product of capitalism and no other system. And for that reason alone, capitalism is the best system. But I digress. People who shoot for socialism, communism, all they really want is they want to control the means of production for their own benefit. That's it. That's the part they leave out. This is why they want this fantasy la la land dream. They sell it to younger people, gullible people, and then once you fall into it, hook, line, sinker. Socialism, communism is like a Ponzi scheme. The person who started it, once they're at the top, they get all the benefits, and everyone gets all the misery. But I digress. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comment section. Are you concerned that communists are starting to openly rally in New York and all these democratic strongholds pushing communism in America? Do you believe America will ever be at threat of actually becoming a communist socialist country? I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I really do appreciate you guys watching to the end of the video, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.